All right. We have a
paper, and this is the one that's going to ask you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Before I do that, okay, I'm going to trip over that repeatedly. So let's get rid of that. Before I talk about Evelyn's Ask Me, I'll come get your Thank you. This will be my Christmas entertainment. I want to know about the guy who's being continued, particularly. He is the main attraction of that picture, I feel like. All right. I can't see the computer from where I am, so I do this up there. Please ask me about this comma. Oh, okay. I've talked about this before, and it's a dicey thing to talk about because it's optional. But I keep talking about it, so obviously in my mind you should do it. But I think Evelyn's use of this comma illustrates one of the reasons why I think it's helpful to use it. So often we have a series of things, especially if you're doing parallelism 1 for me, you know, and you have 3 adjectives or something like that. And so I ate desserts, turkey, and shout out to my husband who thinks that this is bad, because I like the one that comes out of the can. It's the shape of a can, you know? All right, so do you know, I have 3 things that I've listed. Cranberry sauce is one you know. And I put a comma between each one of the lists. If you leave this out, it could be interpreted that I ate desserts, turkey and cranberry sauce. But I think turkey and cranberry sauce are desserts, although cranberry sauce sort of is because it's just got boatloads of sugar in it, but it makes it so good. If I list the 3 with commas, we know that they're separate. This comma is referred to as the Oxford comma. And it is considered optional, but it can lead to misunderstanding. So the one I think I gave you before is at the party were my parents, Jabba the Hutt, and Lady Gaga. Okay, so in this sentence, three people, well, I have 2 parents, but, you know, there were 3 groups of people talked about at this party. My parents happened to be there, Jabba the Hutt happened to be there, Lady Gaga happened to be there. If I do this, it sounds a bit like Jabba the Hutt and Lady Gaga are my parents.
That's what I thought when you first wrote it.
And when I read that, it's going to make me think that. So this is what Evelyn said. All day, Bert would dream of being like all the great heroes, knights, and kings. Now, if you leave the comma out, it sounds a bit to me like the knights and the kings are the heroes. You know what I mean? It's not 3 distinct groups, which maybe you intended, but I don't know. And so remember, when we write, when we talk too, we want to communicate with people, right? There's no point in talking or writing anything if you don't want people on the other end to understand. So the more precisely I can communicate what I meant, the better off my reader or my listener is. And so in Evelyn's case, it was ambiguous to me. Are the knights and kings the heroes she means? Come on, everybody. Or does she mean 3 distinct groups? So does that make sense to everybody? Do you have a story for me?
Yes. I didn't print it out.
Oh. Oh, you mean it's not with you? Okay, that's fine. You can email it to me if you want to. You can bring it in here. All right, any other questions on the writing? All right, we are going to hit the ground running because I just so much stuff to talk about. And here's what I'd like from you guys. I know we get really excited about things, and I love that we get excited about things, and you have lots to say, which I also love. But today, could we just kind of stay with me? Or we're just not going to get to talk about the things I want to talk about. And so I'm hoping to spend about 40 minutes on history, 40 minutes on Macbeth, and then I brought Mad Lib. And that's your reward for staying with me, okay? Another holiday Mad Lib. I'm going to try.
Right there. What's
Yes.
Mad Lib?
Oh, this is Henry's wonderful day of his life, because
Kahoot?
you know what, you'll find out. Why don't you guys open up your reading questions, and let's talk about the 100 Years' War. Oh my goodness, that's a long time for a war. Who were the fighters? Yes, who were the fighters?
The French and the English.
The French and the English were the fighters. Why in the world do they keep fighting?
Because William the Conqueror came from France. He was a subject in France. And when he became king, the French thought that England was theirs because
Absolutely.
so they had to pay taxes and do all that.
Yes.
And the English didn't like that.
No. If I'm the king of England, I want some respect. And I don't want to go to France and be called a vassal of the king of France. That's insulting to me. Plus, I have to give him a certain amount of tribute. I don't want to do that. And then, to top it all off, these kings of England kept marrying French women from areas of France that they inherited. So the kings of England kept accruing more and more land. And we read a few weeks ago, I think, that the king, when Philip Augustus became king of France, the king of England owned more of France than the king of France. Who wants to be king of a land that somebody else is king of most of it? This doesn't seem fair. So there were problems already ever since William the Conqueror, but it really blew up in the 1300s. So this is the boring part, and then we'll get to the good part. England has a lot of sheep. Something else to say about that. Apparently, England is really good for grazing sheep, and it became a problem later because sheep people wanted to fence in all the pastures, but the people who farmed said, "What's the deal? What's my farm? No, it's not anymore. It's my sheep field." And they weren't able to farm as much, so sheep became a problem. At this point, it wasn't a problem, but sheep are fine. They're lovely creatures. They're not very smart. But what we want them mostly for is their wool, right? That's what they're good for. We do eat them occasionally. But mostly we shear them. And we use their wool, and you've got to turn the woolen cloth. Where did they do that? They did that in Flanders. They had all sorts of workshops. And this is sort of the northern coast of Europe on the North Sea where the Netherlands are. And so they had this lovely relationship. England and Flanders, we have the sheep, we send you the wool, we turn it into cloth, and then we sell it, and everybody, it's a win-win. Except that the nobility of Flanders started a relationship with the kings of France. And they promised not to do anything against the king of France. And now England and France are arguing. But that's where we get our wool from. All the merchants in Flanders don't want to break up with the king of England, you know. So the king of the merchants in Flanders send a note to England, and they say, "Hey, England, we promised not to do anything against the king of France, but what if you were the king of France? And technically, we could keep our promise. We wouldn't do anything against the king of France because the king of France is the English king." And Edward, who was king, said, "Thumbs up on that idea. I like that idea. I should be king of France." It wasn't a crazy idea because his aunt, his uncle was the king of France. His mom was the king of France's sister. You know, so when he dies and he doesn't have any male children, I should be king. unlimited royalty. No, because we have a law that no one can inherit the French crown through a woman. If your claim to the crown is through a woman, you don't like that rule. So I'm simplifying greatly for time, but war breaks out. And Edward had a son, also named Edward, the Black. He wasn't black, he had black armor. That's why he's known as the Black Prince. And he just whooped up on the French. I mean, he was awesome. He was incredible in the field. And so the Battle of Crécy, which is a French name that I might be butchering, so if you hear it pronounced by someone who's French, listen to them, not to me. This is the second question I asked you. Which side had the bigger army at the battle? No, the French. Okay. Which side won? The English. It was why?
Is it the longbow?
Here's the problem with the French. All through the 100 Years' War, or at least the first half of it. The French are living in a time that's gone. You know, in a time where we all put on our armor and we get on our horses and we ride back, striking down the foot soldiers. It's wonderful. They didn't keep up with the latest technology. Basically, is what happened. And the latest technology in England were these massive bows, as big as a person, with 6-foot-long bows, and it took a lot of strength to pull. But because of their size and the strength involved, they could shoot an arrow through your armor into your head. Yeah. And they did. And they did, repeatedly. Did I tell you guys about the show I watched where you could, they could hold several arrows in their hands at once and rapid fire, like machine gunning them down with these arrows. So the French are just following up their horses are following. Like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. We're awesome in our armor and our horses, and we're the French nobility, and we're all dead. Arrows sticking in us. This was the battle. And I also asked you what new weapon may have been used there for the first time. This is early, but look at it. Gunpowder. This is the other thing that, as Dorothy Mills told you, it sort of brought the what we think of as the Middle Ages, crashing down. Because all those castles that you built, I can blow them up. I can just I can shoot things at you now, like cannonballs and things, and it will just knock you clean off your horse and mangle you. The Criners watched A Knight's Tale, and so, there was a scene in A Knight's Tale where his helmet was, like, crushed in and he couldn't get it off. That was a problem. If something hits you hard enough, it's hard to get you out of the armor because it's bent in on you and you can't get it off. All of these things contribute to the French losing miserably. In a later battle, the French king was actually captured. Did you catch that in the Dorothy Mills reading? They took him to London, and he was there for months and months until the French ransomed him. They weren't going to kill him, but they waited until he could be ransomed. The Black Prince rampaged and rampaged through France, but it sounds like he wasn't a very nice guy. Dorothy Mills says a historian described him as being courageous and cruel as a lion. And here's what the historian said. It was a great pity to see the men, women, and children that kneeled down on their knees before the prince for mercy. But he was so inflamed with ire. Do you know what ire is? What does that mean? If I'm irate, what am I? There's another word for I'm getting irate because no one knows what irate means. I'm not really. Angry, anger. Ire means anger. Ira is the Latin word for anger. Ire. So he was so inflamed with anger that he took no heed to them, so that none was heard but all put to death, as they were met withal, and such as were nothing culpable. In other words, the innocent. You know how we sort of have a rule that in war we don't kill civilians? It's a thing. It's considered bad form to just bomb civilians. We target the military. Black Prince doesn't care. He finds you, he kills you. There was no pity taken on the poor people who wrought never no manner of treason. There was not so hard a heart within the city of Limoges, and if he had any remembrance of God, that they wept piteously for the great mischief they saw before their eyes. For more than 3,000 men, women, and children were slain and beheaded that day. That's the Black Prince. Now, I did some poking around about the Black Prince. Apparently, first of all, this town had surrendered to the French. It had been an English town and it surrendered to the French without fight, so he was angry. But also, one of the sources I looked up is that the Black Prince had spells of rage and hallucinations, and may have had a genetic disorder. He may have been slightly insane. History is so weird, because you read about people and then you find out, but what if they were a little bonkers? You know George III was people as bonkers. Not very good form. The king that the American colonies rebelled against had fits of insanity. Yes. It's, in fact, there's an interesting, I don't think, rated R movie, but it's called The Madness of King George. It's a movie about Collier in the movie, which is very interesting. We read about the King of France. Had spells of insanity. You might wonder about all these kings having spells of insanity. In some countries, they marry their relatives a lot. And that's not very good for you. There's a reason we don't marry our relatives, and it's because if you have a problem, like a genetic problem in your family, and then you marry a relative, it's very likely they will have a genetic problem, and then you're sick. So sometimes that happens, and it may have happened here. But anyway, but the Black Prince, fortunately for France, I guess, died relatively young. And so some time passed. You got to remember, they didn't fight for 100 years nonstop. It came in waves, all right? It was the same war, do you know what I mean? Just sort of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and the same war going on for the same reasons, but with different players. And so, and time passed, and new kings would come to the throne, and then they'd start a field quarrel. So, the next round was a young man named Henry V. Henry V was king of England, and he was pretty young when he came to the throne. And he got sucked into the quarrel, possibly egged on by the church that said, we will give you money if you go fight against the Prince of France. He's called the Dauphin. That's just what they call the prince, the Dauphin. Insulted Henry V. He's the prince, so his dad's the king. Instead of prince, they call him the and he insulted him. And so Henry V went to battle. And I just sort of, okay, how about if I just act like that's unrelated to the next question? What English king fought the French at Agincourt? Who is it, Elliot?
Henry V.
Oh, imagine that. Henry V. Yeah, sorry about that. Here is the death toll at Agincourt. According to the English Chronicles, let's stop for a minute. English won the battle, would they want to make it sound like less of a victory or more of a victory in their history? They would want to make it sound like more of a victory. We're amazing. And so they might tweak that more French people died than really did, and fewer English people died than really did. You see, if you follow my line of reasoning, they might do that. But one English historian says 8,000 French dead, 26 English. But actually, I read that they said the more realistic number is maybe 1,600. But still, 8,000 dead on one side, 1,600 dead on the other. That's quite a victory. Again, the French are not getting the message. The whole stop, just putting on your armor and coming out on your horses, those longbows will take you out. Now, because we read a Shakespeare play, that we're going to talk about here shortly, I've read another Shakespeare play. Shakespeare wrote a play of the life of Henry V. And there's an amazing movie with Tim Grant from the 80s, where he plays Henry. In Shakespeare plays, he writes about historical people, but he changes things a little bit to make a better story. I think I told you that about Macbeth, that he changes things because it's a boring story. I want the throne, or the King Duncan is rotten, and so I assassinated him. Henry V is the story of this battle of Agincourt. And I want to read something to you because it is one of the most famous things that Shakespeare ever wrote. The day before the battle, the morning before the battle of Agincourt, the English all think they're going to stop. They spent the night, this is in the play, they spent the night praying and confessing their sins to priests because they think they're all going to die in the morning. Henry tells the French messenger, the herald, he says, you know what, if you would let us just move on, we would go to Calais and we would go back and sort of regroup. We're tired, we're sick. But if he wants a battle, we'll give him a battle. But their fingers were crossed. Maybe he won't want a battle. The French thought the English were sitting back. Right? For the same reason. They're tired. They're sick. They've lost a lot of men because this isn't the first battle since the invasion of France. And so they were sitting around in the morning thinking, one character in the play says, is that the sun that's rising? And another character says, yes, it's the day that's beginning, but I think many of us will never see the end of it. This is their mood. And in that scene, Shakespeare writes one of his greatest speeches. One of the noblemen says, oh, that we now had here but 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today. It was a holiday, St. Crispin's Day. And the guy says, man, there's tons of people at home in England right now that aren't even working because it's a holiday. Wish some of them were here, because we're all going to get slaughtered. And Henry overhears what he said. And this is what Henry answered. What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country lost. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my cuz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me. For the best hope I have, oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he who hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. If you're afraid, you don't want to fight, let him go. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian, that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then he will strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Christmas Day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in the mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford, and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, while then he speaks that thought with us upon St. Crispin's Day. If you are in the mind to memorize a Shakespeare speech, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And then the King's Brand movie, he did an amazing job. The rousing speech you give, he said, we are always going to be remembered. And you know what? Shakespeare made sure they are. They are remembered for that battle. They mopped the floor with the French. 8,000 dead, like I said, maybe 1,600 English dead, maybe 26. Maybe somewhere in between those two. And you would think, yay, it's over. This is an astounding victory. They went to the French king and sued for peace. The French king said, okay, Henry, you marry my daughter Catherine. And then you let me be king until I die. And then your son shall be king of England and France after my death. Awesome. Catherine marries Henry. She moves to England. They have a son, Henry VI. The king dies. But Henry VI also dies. And Henry VI is a little tiny kid when he becomes king. And if you've learned nothing, or if you know nothing else from movies and books, it's whenever the new king is a baby or a toddler, this never goes well. Because people step in and take control, right? People who have their own agenda, they don't really do it for the baby king. They do it for themselves. The very last line of the play Henry V, very end, is very depressing, but sums it up. Fortune made his sword, Henry's sword, by which the world's best garden he achieved, and of it left his son, imperial lord, Henry VI. In infant bands crowned King of France and England, did this king succeed. Through state, so many had the managing, that they lost France, and made his England bleed. The war is not over, just because he was king. Next round. A very weird thing happened. There was a little girl living in France, and her name was Joan. And when she was little, she started hearing voices. Saints would come to her and talk to her, she said. St. Catherine, I don't remember who else, St. Michael, St. Margaret. Keep in mind, she's like 13 years old, 12 or 13 years old. And the voices said, you need to go and have the Dauphin crowned. He hadn't been officially crowned. There was sort of no king in France, except maybe the English king that the French don't want. He needs to be taken to the palace where they crown the king. And Joan, you're going to get in there. 12-year-old peasant girl. She tells her dad, Dad, the Saints want me to go have the Dauphin crowned. He's like, no, you're not going. What are you, nuts? Basically, was her dad's response. However, an uncle smuggled her out and got her to a nearby town where she got an armed guard, and they said, okay, whatever. You've been fighting the English for 100 years. Let her have a shot. Let's see what happens. So, they hear she's coming. The Dauphin wants to test her. So they hatch a scheme. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to dress up as a nobleman of the court, and somebody else is going to dress up as me and sit on the throne. Right? If she's really from God, she'll know. There's no pictures back then. She doesn't know what he looks like. There's no photographs. She's never seen a portrait painted of him. So she walks into the grand court, right? And there's this man sitting on the throne, and all the nobility are lined up. She walks straight up to the actual prince and addresses him. He's just one guy in the crowd. She walks straight to him and says, you know, did you think you could dress up as someone else and I would not know you? Of course I know. The guy on the throne, he's not the prince. You're the prince. And you have to listen to me. I have to have you crowned so you can lead the French army to victory against the English. And then she took him aside and she told him something. And nobody knows what. But after that, he doesn't believe it. She told him some secret that no one should know, but she knew. And apparently she won him over. She smuggled him through enemy-held, English-held territory to get him crowned. And said, my next task, according to the saints, is to rescue the city of Orleans that is being besieged by the English. She cut her hair, put on armor, went on horseback, led the army. She's 15 now, maybe. She has no military experience. She's not from a family of nobility or anything. And they break the siege of Orleans, and they rescue the French in the town. And the crowd goes wild. They love her. They love her. The English do not love her. Because she's making them lose. And so they start hatching plans. We need to get a hold of this Joey girl. She's wrecking things. Now, her voices, her saints, did not tell her to keep doing anything. Basically, they said, your mission is done. The Dauphin is king. Orleans is safe. But the king wouldn't let her go. The French army wouldn't let her go. And she said, I don't think my voices want me to do this. That's why we're going to do it. Because we need you. And she was wounded. And then she was captured by the English. I'm basically doing the last question, obviously. The English threw her in prison. And they wanted to get rid of her. What are they going to charge her with? Does anybody remember from your reading? What did they charge her with? What was she? Being a witch. Now, this part's going to sound goofy. Since all four ladies in the room are wearing pants today, and my hair is none too super long. Part of the reason she was a witch is because she dressed up in men's clothing. It's hard to ride a horse in a dress. It's hard to put on armor with your dress. And it's hard to stuff all your hair in the helmet, right? So this was why. Her calling meant she had to dress a certain way. Then in prison, so one of the charges is, you're hearing voices which may or may not be devils. Although the French church examined her theologically and said, we find no fault in this young woman. The English said, maybe consorting with demons. Dresses up in men's clothing, that's weird. And we just don't like her. But that wasn't really a charge. That was just sort of underneath. because she makes her food. They took away her clothes. Okay, so she's 17 maybe. She's this innocent, grew up in this tiny village. She's sitting alone in prison. It's not a nice prison. They take away her clothes and they put a dress in there to see if she will put the dress on. But they basically forced her to change clothes because she's just sitting there like in her underwear with male guards. So they hound her. They take her into court. They try her. She's really smart. It turns out that she answers every question and turns the questions back on the questioners. They don't know what to do with her. It's not an open shut case. But they threaten her and they harangue her, and then finally they take away all her clothes. She just has her underwear left. She's sick. She's cold. She's humiliated. And they bring in a paper and they say, sign a paper that says you're wicked. Your voices were demons and you shouldn't have obeyed them. And finally she just says, okay, whatever. Bring the paper. And she signs it. And then she finds out the reward for that is life in prison. That's what she has to look forward to. She denied her voices and now she's in prison for the rest of her life. She thought about this and she said, you know what? Come back. I take it back. I'm not consorting with demons. My voices were true. They were the saints telling me what to do to save France from England and do whatever you want to with me. She's 17, maybe. They take her out to burn her at the stake. Tie her to the stake. Teenage girl. And the one of the bystanders sees her motioning. She says she wants a cross to look at. And somebody just finds two sticks and they tie two sticks together and they make a cross. And they hold up and then they light the fire and she dies staring at this cross. They burn her. And one of the guys, Dorothy Mills, told the story. One of the English, said, shoot, we're done for. He just killed a saint. I think he just killed a saint. Joan of Arc. What is the deal with Joan of Arc? I don't know. I was thinking about this morning before I came. Whether it's easy to see if God is on one side or another side when there's a war. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it seems like the more virtuous or righteous side should win. Right? So World War II is always the one I think of because Hitler was just so wicked. The Nazis were so wicked. It's easy to see. The Germans were wrong and the Allies were right. Pretty much, even a lot of Germans think this, Well, I know. Not in especially when the Russians were they're questionable. But in general, we think, okay, which side should have won that war? The side that won. Because they were murdering people. It was good for us to stop that. But most wars aren't so clear-cut. Were the English wrong for invading? I don't know. They did have a claim. The French weren't very nice to them. But it was the French's country. I don't know. The point is, which side was God on? Got a message from God. I don't know. But Joan of Arc claimed to have a message from God. It said the English are wrong, the French are right, and I'm saving France from the wicked English. No one's ever been able to poke holes in her testimony. We have it written down, like a transcript of the trial of Joan of Arc. She was wise beyond her years and her education. She got this idea in her head from somewhere, and she was successful. As long as she listened and obeyed, but when she overstepped, she got wounded and captured. I don't know. If you have an interest in your life, I can recommend an exceedingly long book to you. It's very entertaining. Do you guys know who Mark Twain is?
Yeah.
You know Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, and if you've read any Mark Twain, you know he's kind of snarky. He's very snarky and a little bit rude and very funny. He wrote a book called The Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc. It's one of the few serious things he wrote. And despite the fact that Mark Twain was basically an atheist, he loved Joan of Arc. And he wrote this, I don't know, like 700-page book about her life. It's a really good book. It's long. If you want a really detailed look at Joan of Arc's life, I recommend Mark Twain, but yes, it's an investment. It'll take you a couple months to read through. At this point, Joan has rescued most of France from England. England held on to one port city till 1558. But the war was pretty much over. Honestly, both sides were just exhausted. Imagine the number of people killed over 100 years in battle after battle after battle on both sides. The peasants in France are sick and tired of being invaded. They weren't really in the war so much, but people riding their horses through your fields or marching their army through your garden is not helpful for your garden. If that's your only source of food, that's not good. Everybody was exhausted. And it just sort of fizzled out. The England versus France fizzled out. That is the 100 Years' War. It's a very sad story. Because honestly, they did all that fighting and all those people died and nothing really changed. France is still France and England is still England. For our first meeting, which is on January 9th, the next 2 weeks we're not meeting. One is the day after Christmas and one is the day after New Year's. You know, the next 2 days. So that next week. I would like you to read chapter 22 of the Dorothy Mills book. It's a Shirley. I planned this so well. Shirley, you're going to be reading about the Black Death over Christmas break. That will just be good for your holiday festivities. And hopefully, I will have a little interesting thing to bring related to the Black Death. It's not true. Don't worry. My son is supposed to be bringing me something that is Black Death related. What?
I was hoping you had a water bottle full of
I do not have any Black Death in my possession, fortunately. People still get that, by the way. It's called the bubonic plague, but it's curable. It's treatable. Let's not kill off a third of Europe again. And before we launch into Macbeth, which I want to spend the next 40 minutes or so on, we are going to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings next semester. Oh, Amelia, that's the wrong thing.
I've read it 3 times.
Why? Why
I
do
don't
you
enjoy long books.
Oh, maybe you will enjoy this one though. If a book is good, if a book is really good, it's better to be long than short, right? Because it's so good you don't want it to end. Well, no, the movies were terrible. What? No, the Hobbit movies. No, the Hobbit movies were terrible. And
Years ago, and I got nightmares from like this one season.
the Lord of the Rings. Please don't. If you haven't already ruined the books by watching the movies, don't watch the movies. At least not until you've read the books, and that makes it difficult. But there's nothing I can do to. I can't turn back the clock. Because they've changed some very important things.
The extended version is better.
Yeah, the extended version is better. But the Hobbit movies, I mean, Martin Freeman was fine, but they added so much malarkey that isn't in the book. Okay, but anyway, my point was not to give you a speech about long books or movies. It was to tell you that we're going to read at a fairly rapid pace. We have 16 weeks, but really 18 weeks because we have 2 breaks in there. So we're reading all 4 books. So we're going to read about a book a month, about a book every 4 to 5 weeks. So, I would like you to read chapters 1 through 7 of The Hobbit. But if you, A, are super enjoying it, or B, feel like you're a slower reader, or C, just want to, read as far as you want. Especially if there's just nothing going on. Sometimes there's a lot of downtime over Christmas. You know, Christmas happens and then family leaves or whatever, and then you just kind of, you know, laying around eating chocolate, whatever, eating Christmas cookies. And if that's you, and you're just sipping cocoa and eating treats, and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to read a few more chapters. If you want to read ahead, it will make it easier for you later. You know what I mean, when you have that kind of heavy reading schedule. But this is kind of the minimum that I'd like to make it through. And I hope that Amelia will feel better about it.
Can I read it back front, cover to cover?
I would love, yes, read the whole thing. And then if you finish it, start Fellowship of the Ring. I'm good with that.
I'm at each cover.
Well, you can read both the covers, but I need you to read the inside too. That's the good part. Okay. I don't know how many of you might have watched me read this or just read it to yourself. Either way is fine. But I wanted to bring out a few important things. It is creepy.
I'm at the front of it.
Oh. It is creepy. Yes. In this case, the cover and the content. All creepy. Often in Shakespeare plays, in medieval drama, we say that the character in a tragedy, okay, I should talk about this. Shakespeare wrote 3 kinds of plays. He wrote histories, like Henry V. He wrote comedies that are not, although they do have parts that are quite funny, they're not ha 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 all the time sort of comedies. Comedy means everything turns out good in the end. That's what makes it a comedy, right? Everybody's happy. Often there are lots of weddings at the end of a comedy because everybody lives happily ever after. And tragedies. The hallmark of a tragedy is most of the people are dead at the end.
Yes.
If at the end of the play there's lots of dead people, it's probably a tragedy. If at the end of the play there's lots of weddings, comedy. If the play is about a historical personage, then it's a history. So this is how we tell the departure. You probably see that there's a lot of dead people in Macbeth. So Macbeth was a tragedy. And in a play that's a tragedy, especially not so much Greek plays, but medieval plays, we ask ourselves this. What is the flaw? The tragic flaw, the character problem that this character has that makes him disposed toward this type. Just a second. Something is just like hovering in the back of my brain. I'm trying to bring it forward. It's not wanting to come. It was last week's discussion on Chaucer's, the one about the philosopher who was going to learn to turn mercury into silver. And I think we talked about what made him an easy mark. And it's because he was greedy. He wanted the silver. If he had said, yeah, that's nice. I don't really need anything because God provides me with everything I need. Have a nice day. It wouldn't have worked. The con wouldn't have worked. So we could say that priest's tragic flaw, it wasn't death at the end of that story, but his flaw was he was greedy. So if Macbeth has a flaw that brings him down, what do you think it is? What do you think it is?
The witches tell him something and then he becomes homicidal.
This is a very accurate description of what happens. The witches tell him something and he becomes a homicidal maniac. Now, what do the witches tell him?
That he'll be king.
He'll be king. These creepy women are out in the middle of nowhere. That's enough right there. No self-respecting women are out, in the middle of the moors in the mist, just dancing around. There's something bad going on there. And he comes. Remember, he's just fought a major battle for King Duncan, and they tell him, They call him Thane of Glamis. Glamis is like an estate. Thane of Cawdor, which is somebody else's estate, and he who will be king hereafter. And, well, okay, yeah, I'm Thane of Glamis. Got it. We know, but he doesn't know, that the Thane of Cawdor has just been arrested for treason and executed. And Duncan has said, hey, Macbeth's awesome. Make him Thane of Cawdor. And the moment he hears that, shoot, they said king too. Now, here's my question. Do you think this is the first time Macbeth has ever thought about being king? Is this, oh, a revelation. Oh my gosh, I could be king? Really? I never dreamed this in my wildest dreams. Banquo warns him. His good friend Banquo, who's also going to buy it in the play. Macbeth says, Banquo, they told you that your kids are going to be kings. I'm Cawdor now. Don't you think your kings, your kids will be kings? And Banquo says, that trusted home might yet enkindle you unto the crown. Besides the thing of Cawdor, which is strange. And oftentimes to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truth, win us with honest trifles, to betray us in deepest consequence. Sometimes the devil tells you the truth to suck you in. Watch out with that. I told you the truth about the Cawdor thing. You gotta watch out. Maybe some power out there wants to suck you in. Now, but here's the thing. At the end of the scene, everybody leaves. After the king says, my son Malcolm will be the next king. And here's Macbeth's instant reaction. The Prince of Cumberland. That is a step on which I must fall down, or else o'er a leap, for in my way it lies. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. The eye wink at the hand, and yet let that be which the eye fears when it is done to see. Stars, don't look, because I'm thinking about something. Thinking about doing something. About the being king thing. It doesn't take him very long to jump straight to that. And then we find out, he sends his wife a letter. She's quite a piece of work, right? Lady Macbeth is, wow. She reads the letter where he says, these witches said I'm going to be king. She says, instantly, Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. The nearest way. What's the easiest way to become king? Kill the king. Don't wait around. Don't cross your fingers and hope something happens to Malcolm and you get promoted. Lady Macbeth instantly, oh, yeah, you're going to be king. But I'm afraid you get guts to do it. Because we know the nearest way. By the way, if you've ever heard that phrase, the milk of human kindness, sometimes people use that phrase. Shakespeare invented it. It's from this play. Shakespeare invented all sorts of cool phrases that we use. She says, thou wouldst be great, are not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. You want to be great, but you're not bad enough to get it. What thou wouldst highly, what you want the most, that wouldst thou holily. You want to do it the right way. And yet would wrongly win. Lady Macbeth instantly thinks, well, we should go him. And it makes me wonder something. Have Macbeth and Lady Macbeth talked about this before? our brains go there really, really fast. Oh, I'm going to be king. Oh, I'm going to be king. The moment the witches, go back to that. The moment the witches tell him, you're going to be king, Banquo says, good sir. Okay, the third witch says, all hail Macbeth, that shall be king hereafter. Banquo says, my good sir, why do you start? That means, look so startled, and seem to fear things that sound so fair. Why did you lose it when they said you will be king? Unless you've been thinking about it already. It was quite a shock to know that these women knew it. Do you follow my idea? So back to the question. Henley is absolutely right. The witches have sucked him in. But what about Macbeth makes him an easy target for the witches? Is there something already in him? What do we call wanting to be greater and greater and greater than you are already? Lady Macbeth actually used the word in the part that I read to you. Let me read it again. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness to attend it. What is ambition? Wanting to be greater, exactly what I was describing. Is it wrong to want to be better than you are?
That's what it is.
If I want to be, if one of you wants to be a better student, or I want to be a better teacher, that's a good ambition. If I want to be queen of the world, I feel like that might be an okay ambition. But it depends on how I get there, right? It depends on how I get there. Do I just let it, do I follow God and listen to the fact that Scripture says that the humble will be exalted, and the prideful will be low, and so I'm like, I'm going to just stay in my humble place and let God do what he will. All right, and then I became queen of the world. Awesome. Or I could just set out on conquest and wipe out the peoples until I take over the world.
That's the better version.
I don't think that's a good version at all. So it depends on what I'm ambitious for and then how I do it. The question that we don't ever get answered and we can't ever get answered is, would Macbeth have become king eventually if he hadn't killed him? The witches said, you will become king. Awesome. Does that mean we have to do something about it? In the Bible, there's a situation a bit like this. It was the prophet Elisha. I get Elijah's exploit and Elisha's exploit, but I think it was Elisha. And oh yes, it was, because Elijah, he ran off to the desert because he was depressed. And God said, go back, and he said, you're going to anoint a new king of Syria. And he actually didn't get that done before the chariot happened, the chariot happened. So Elisha, it was up to Elisha. And Elisha was walking along, and he met this guy named Hazael. And he anoints him. He anoints him, literally pours oil on his head, anoints him king of Syria. Hazael's just nobody in the king's court. What's the deal? This is what God has chosen you, or no, God actually anoints him, and Hazael says, what's the deal? And Elisha says, I'm obeying God's orders. And then Elisha starts crying. What's the deal? He said, oh, I know the horrible things you are going to do to my people. Hazael says, I got no power to do anything to anybody. He says, oh yeah, well God has revealed to me you're going to be the next king of Syria. And you're going to persecute the Israelites. So Hazael goes home. He's planning in his head now, I'm going to be the next king of Syria. And he does a Macbeth. He goes and he smothers the king. And the king is ill, and he just lays wet blankets and pillows on his face so he smothers into that and takes over. Would Hazael have done that if Elisha hadn't said, you're going to be the next king?
No.
This is why messing with the future is very dangerous, like prophecy, because if somebody tells you something's going to happen, and then you make it happen, would you have made it happen if they hadn't told you it was going to happen? Or would it have happened anyway? Time travel, philosophical question, we don't know. But the witches do tell him, and he does it. And Lady Macbeth, I don't know if you caught this, she accuses him of something. When he says, I'm not going to do it. You know what? I've been thinking about it. He's just given me honors. He's a guest in my house. I'm not doing it. Forget it. She says this to him. No, I'm not going to read what she said. But he answers her. She just says, you're being a jerk. He says, pretty peace. I dare do all that may become a man. He dares do more as none. I'm a man. I'm a real man. But if you overstep the bounds, you're not really a man anymore. She says, what beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. If you do this, you can be even more of a man. You can be more manly. Kings are more men than Thanes or Gloms or Cawdor. Murderers are more men than, I don't know, like doormats who just wait around to see if something will happen. She says, she honestly says, I know what it's like to have a baby. But if I had told you I would do something, I would take that baby and bash its brains out against the rock. Oh, yeah. This woman is not right, even at the beginning of the play. And before Macbeth even comes home, she has this scene where she's read the letter from him, and she asks demons to enter her and take away all her motherly instincts, all her womanhood, and fill her with manhood, like turn me into a man. And be rough, tough, so I can do whatever needs to be done. They do it, and later on, you probably noticed that one murder doesn't end it. Now he's got to kill more people and more people. As a matter of fact, he's got to kill Banquo because Banquo's kids are going to be kings. He's got Macduff's family because he's looking for Macduff. He's got to keep killing, and at one point he says, you know what? It's like wading across a river of blood. I'm already halfway over. Might as well just keep going. It's just you just keep going and just go back. Might as well keep going. But he hires murderers. He hires hitmen to kill Banquo and And he says to the hitmen, is this something you think you can do? And the murderer says, I'm a man. I can do it. Even Lady Macbeth is a man in that sense. But Macbeth said something really important. He said, I will do what becomes a man, but if you do more than that, if you cross that line, you're no longer a man. Here's my question for you. What are you when you're no longer a man? I'm speaking metaphorically, okay, not literally. He's not literally going to turn into not a human being. But what, so he doesn't mean I'm a man, like, not a woman. He doesn't mean I'm a man, being. He means I'm manly, okay? To obey the law and the moral law is manly. And Lady Macbeth's like, no. Doing whatever you have to do to get what you want, that's manly. And he says, yeah, if I do whatever I have to do to get what I want, I'm really not a man anymore. Then what are you? Metaphorically. What is okay, here's a human being.
This is not a human being, by the way.
What's above and below, like in the chain of existence? What are creatures that are better than humans? God, like God and the angels, right? What are creatures that are less than humans?
Animals.
Okay, animals. And perhaps we could put demons in this category because I mean, they're more than human in some senses because they have powers that human beings don't have, even as demons, but they're less because they're condemned. They have no chance for repentance. We'll leave them out of the list, okay? So if you're no longer, she says, if be a man and do it. He's like, you know what, if I do it, I'm no longer a man. Do you think he means he's going to become angelic if he? No. He means I'm going to sort of fall down to being an animal. People who do whatever they need to do to get what they want aren't really human anymore. It's like they've become animals. Because animals do that, right? If an animal wants something, it does whatever it needs to do to get it. And we don't say the animal is bad, right? When the lion eats the gazelle, we don't say bad, wicked lion. My cat brings, you know how cats bring you gifts?
Yeah.
And unfortunately for my cat, I really love mice. I think they're adorable, and I think they're just charming. But she, I hear them meowing outside, and I'm like, killed another one. And I have to say, good, you're good. Good kitty. And I'm thinking, oh, adorable mouse. But I'm not angry with the cat. That would be unreasonable. The cat's doing what cats do. When we just do whatever we do without really thinking whether it's right or wrong, that's animal mode. Macbeth is hovering at that place, right? That night, the evening, when the king's there, he says, I'm not going to do it. Well, you promised. You're not a man. And he falls down to his house. He comes back from the murder, and he says, easier to find it than it would be to look at all my. He looks at his hands and says, this is a sorry sight. He says, a foolish thought to say a sorry sight. There's one of the guards, did laugh in his sleep, and one tried murder. They did wake each other. I still didn't hurt them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them against sleep. One cried, God bless us, an amen the other. They'd seen me with these hangman's hands, listening in their fear. I could not say amen when they did say God bless us. He says, consider it not to do it. But wherefore could I not pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing and amen. Stuck in my throat. Instantly he's cut off from God. He can't respond to their prayers. Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep. Still I cried, sleep no more. She says, I'm going to go finish the job because he stupidly brought the murder weapons back with him. He's not very good at this. I didn't read enough murder mysteries, apparently, to know you leave the murder weapons at the scene. And she's going to smear the guards with blood and to make it look like they did it. And she leaves, and then somebody's at the door, and he's looking at his hands, and he says, will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? Will an ocean of water wash the blood off my hand? No. This my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. My hands are so bloody they will turn the ocean red. The ocean won't turn my hands white. My hands will turn the ocean red. Lady Macbeth does her thing, and she comes back. Here's a response. A little water clears us of the sea. Which was her hand. You're fine. Now let's go act like everything's fine. But you may remember, murder after murder after murder takes its toll on Lady Macbeth, doesn't it? Does she stay like that the whole play? No, we're fine. Everything's good. Now I'm king. I'm queen. You're king. No. She Can't do what? Or she sleepwalks. Macbeth can't sleep. She can't sleep well. And do you remember, what does she do while she walks around the house? Do you remember? So, in this out damn spot. People say that. I don't know why. Spot. She's trying to get the spot. Of course, they're not there anymore. She's leaning. She thinks she can. She thinks a little water clears us of the sea, right? That's what men do. Real men go for it. They grab whatever they need. When human beings do it, they're not okay. If you do it and you are okay, then it's better to do it and not be okay and go crazy like Lady Macbeth than to just be good with it, which Macbeth seems to be. Macbeth goes, even though Banquo had told him, you know, those witches could be demonic. I'm going to go seek him out again. And he goes to their camp. By the way, very good question, Emily. Exactly. How does he find them? Does he find them? I am going to the very beginning of the play. The very first characters we meet are the witches. And they say, when shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. That will be our set of sun. Where the place? Upon the heath. There to meet with Macbeth. They're waiting. He doesn't find them, they find him. So now, let's address Henley's question or comment. Let's find the place where he goes back. Okay. Hang on. I can all these little flags. Oh, no, let's get that. Okay. I know, I do. I should say, this is where he says. Okay, so we meet the witches again. No, they do not say in Act 4 that they are specifically there waiting for Macbeth. They are double, toil and trouble, fire burn, cauldron bubble, doing their thing, which is also, that's from Shakespeare. Have you ever heard that phrase? You just said it. You'll hear it somewhere else. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Open locks, you never know. It is unclear, Henley, when they don't say, we are camping out here again because we know Macbeth is coming, but they don't seem surprised. They know something wicked is going to come. Macbeth. And he says he wants to talk to their masters. Say if thou'dst rather hear it from our mouths or from our masters. He says, call them, let me see them. Remember, these may be demonic. Who would their master be? Bring him up. I don't care who you are. I don't care what power you serve. Bring your master. Masters, so maybe not Satan, but maybe higher demonic entities. Whoever's in charge of the witches. It is unclear. And he sees 3 visions, right? And, oh, Macbeth, you're just not very smart. You're not thinking clearly anymore. He doesn't sleep. He's got a horrible guilty conscience, I hope. And he sees this crowned head. Is that the first thing you see? Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. The crowned head is the third apparition. First apparition, an armed head, which just means a head with a helmet on. All right. And the first, he starts to talk to it. Tell me, thou unknown power. And the first witch says, he knows thy thought. He knows thy thought. Here's his speech, but say that not. Did you want to say something?
What's an apparition?
Oh, like a vision or a spirit.
Oh, okay.
Who knows your thought? God and you. He sees a head without a body, and he is told he knows your thought. Dude, you are the one who knows your thought. They're showing you a head without a body, and basically saying this is you. But the voice says, beware Macduff, beware the Thane of Fife. The apparition says something related to the picture, but not really informing him of the picture. Who's going to chop off Macduff's head eventually? Macduff! The head, your head, who knows your thought, is saying beware Macduff. Dude, they're giving you every clue that you need. He doesn't pick it up. So the second one, a bloody child. And it says, none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. How was Macduff born? C-section. Surgically. A bloody child. And then it says, no one born of woman will harm Macbeth. Dude, there's another way to be born. Some children are surgically removed from their mothers because there's a problem. That's Macbeth. You're not seeing it. You're only hearing what you want to hear. Does that make sense to you guys? And then a crowned child with a tree branch in his hand. Everything he needs to interpret this is there. And it says, Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Burnham Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. Till the forest marches on your castle, you're good. Buddy, look at, he's holding a branch in the crowned child. Who's the prince? Malcolm. What's he doing? Carrying a branch. But he only hears what he wants to hear. Oh, yeah, that'll never happen. Look at the picture with that. What if they all hold branches, which they do, to hide their numbers, and march? When we want something, and we fall down to that level, do we sometimes just hear what we want to hear? We've all done it. Hopefully not about something really deep and serious, but we do it all the time. We selectively hear or take in what we want if it confirms what we want. You know what I mean? So if I really want cocoa, everything's not food for me. If I really want cocoa, I'm going to ignore the studies about the evils of sugar, right? But because sugar is really in high quantities, we all know it's not good for you. But I will highlight the discoveries about chocolate being full of antioxidants. I'm going to drink even more cocoa because of the antioxidants. No, that's not healthy. We hear what we want to hear. What's that? Here's what he wants to hear. And it gets to the point where he just can't. I was going to say he's not in touch with reality. It's not exactly true. Do you remember the scene when his wife died, when they told him his wife did? And he says she should have died hereafter. Well, she was going to die someday. And then he goes, I know part, tomorrow And he ends it, he says, life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That's what he's turned into. From, I'm the war hero, Duncan is keeping honors on me, to life is just a tale told by an idiot, signifying nothing. There's no meaning to life. So I might as well just go out there and die, except, bizarrely, he still doesn't think he's vulnerable. Burnham Wood has just marched. And he's been told to beware Macbeth. He's like, no, dude, because no one born of woman can harm Macbeth. To the very end, he listens to them. And they lead him to his death. The witches lead him to his death. So back to what Henry said at the beginning, what's the problem? The witches suck him in, but he's very suckable, if you know what I mean. He's an easy target because there's something he really wants. It is a creepy play. It is a really, I think it's one of the best stories that show you this is what evil does to you. If you start playing with wickedness and evil, it will take you down. To the point where you barely even human. And your life dies, and you go like, yeah, well, that happens. Macbeth is one of the shortest Shakespeare plays. It also, you might find this interesting, has a reputation. Theater people do not say the play's name Macbeth when they're doing Macbeth. It is considered to be bad luck. Apparently there are an inordinate number of accidents on the stages where they're performing Macbeth. And so they refer to it as the Scottish play. We're doing the Scottish play. And even Dame Judi Dench has said, yeah, he never said the name of the Scottish play. A little theater superstition, probably. But what?
Every time they try making the movie, the producers and people die.
It is just kind of got an aura about it, whether legitimately or not, that things happen around Macbeth. Because it's just the subject matter is so very dark. He wrote other tragedies, and other Shakespearean heroes have problems like indecision or jealousy, and often this leads to death. But Macbeth is just all out, gives himself over to evil, like no other Shakespeare character that I can think of. Anyway, I hope that you found it at least somewhat entertaining and interesting. If this was your first Shakespeare play, I sent, I actually have an email to go out. I'm not going to post it on the website. I'm just going to send an email with information when I get home. And I have a video that I recommend more than some because a lot of the movie versions are, I told you this last week, are violent, but there's a BBC recording that's safe to watch. So remember that it's not, Shakespeare didn't write this for us to read it out of a book. He wrote it for us to see it acted out on the stage. And it's different when you see these things acted out. Okay. We got 7 minutes. I did it. So I will do it. All right. Now let me find one.
Was it like trivia?
It is not. So here's what happens, Emily. We're going to go around the room, and I'm going to ask you for a certain type of word, like a noun or a verb or an adjective, and I'm going to write it down. And you don't know what the story is. And I'm going to put it, then I read the story, and with your funny words in it that you added, and hilarity ensues. Okay. Okay. I don't want you to see what the story is, and that's, here, we'll just put it down like that. Okay. We will start with Elliot and go around the other way. Elliot, give me an adjective. Blue. It is an adjective. Yeah, because it tells what kind. An adjective tells what kind of something it is. Okay, and Finley, you also get to give me an adjective. Any word that says what kind.
Purple.
purple.
Color today.
We have lots of colors. Okay, Luke, a plural noun. Oh, yeah, that's very festive. Noah, you get a noun also.
Just a noun.
Yes.
Pocket knives.
What is it? Pocket knives? We didn't use pocket knives last week.
It's a good
Well, it's a good one. It is a good one.
word.
Oh, I'm just gonna say pocket knife because it doesn't specify plural. Okay. All right, Amelia, you also get a noun.
Vacuum cleaner.
Oh, you guys are thinking this time. Gonna be a good one. Liam, an adjective. Oh, yeah. Okay, Tyler, you get a noun. What is it, a big what?
The
Big Ben.
Tower.
The Big Bad Tower?
Big Ben.
Oh, Big Ben Tower. I said Big Bad Tower? Where is that? I don't want to go there. Okay, Big Ben. Big Ben. I'll say Big Ben and leave the tower off. I think that'll be good. Okay. And Evelyn, a verb. Oh, an action word. A word that describes an action. Any action. The boys would. Stab, okay. Stab. All right, we like it. All right, Elliot, we're back around to you. You get a noun. Henley, you get a room. Any room. It's like the name of a room.
Where does it have the electric chair? In the prison.
Oh, okay.
The torture room.
The torture room, okay.
You stepped over the torture room.
I like this. Luke, you get a verb. What?
Mowing.
Mowing. Okay, we'll get mow. All right. Noah, a plural noun. No more pocket knives. Okay, drills.
Not Walton, it's the Walt drill.
You want drills? We go with drills? Amelia, color. A color. We've already used blue and purple. So let's do it. It is Amelia's color. Let her do it.
Arsenic green.
Don't listen to them.
To your blood red.
Blood red. All right.
Blood red, yes.
Yes. Okay. Liam, an article of clothing.
Do you wear a machine gun?
No, that's not really clothing. I don't think that won't work here. Okay. All right, we're on to Tyler. You get a type of activity, just something you might do. Okay, can I change it because it'll sound better? Get a game. Pick a game. I should call it like that because that'll sound better.
GTA. Grand Theft Auto.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Grand Theft Auto.
Okay, all right. Evelyn, it says a girl in the room. It can be any girl. It doesn't have to be a girl in the room. All right, it kind of leaves it, yeah. All right, we're back around to Elliot. Another article of clothing.
Ooh.
Socks.
Oh, man.
Okay, Henley, you get a celebrity.
Oh.
Any famous person.
John Denver.
Oh, bless your heart. So
Do that, or what is his name?
Luke, a male person in this room.
Is that here?
He is
Oh, he's there.
now.
Oh, okay.
Are we, is it Noah again? Plural noun?
Yeah, big deal stuff.
Machine gun.
Yeah, machine
Poison
gun.
lightning rod.
No, it's what you stick on top of your house with your
Oh, truck.
Trucks. Okay, Amelia, a part of the body.
Earlobe.
Oh, that's good. Earlobe. All right, Liam, this is the last one, noun.
Knowing Liam, that's gonna be hard.
What's that thing called?
We can't help you.
What does it
Special
do?
fish. That looks really gross.
Musky?
Oh, it's got like a blob head or something.
Oh, yeah, blobfish.
Yeah, blobfish.
Blobfish, I'm not sure that's a technical name of anything, but I like the sound of it. Okay. This is what to get people for Christmas.
Oh!
Are we ready? One of the blue things about Christmas is being able to pick out purple presents to give to your guns and relatives. But it's a problem because you don't want to give someone a pocket knife when they really wanted a vacuum cleaner. Here are some smushy gift ideas. I bet your mother would like a new electric big bin you could use to stab her vegetables or clean the cabinet in the torture room. The cabinet. If your father likes to mow, he could use a new set of drills or a blood red all-wool helmet while he is playing Grand Theft Auto. If you want to get Amelia a present, she needs sports socks designed by John Denver. Nathan needs some trucks to keep his earlobes warm. But no matter what you give, remember, it is the blobfish behind the gift that counts. All right. You guys have a wonderful Christmas. I'll see you on January 9th. Thank you. You guys did an amazing job of being very attentive so we can get to the fun stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, fun.